Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gonzalez. Here. Mosajek. Here. Monzo.
Here.
Pelletier here. Puzo. Here. Swanson is not. Alright. So next, we'll make a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes for July 18, 2019.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, July 18th.
Got it covered. Yes. Any questions, corrections? All those in favor of approving the regular board meeting minutes from July 18, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, public comments, agenda items only. Nobody here. President report, I don't have anything. Committee reports, finance.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the finance reports for July 2019. Are there any questions, comments? Any questions on the cash statement, which is very simple? The income statement. The check register or the accounts payable. There is a voided check.
3662.
No, 36.99.
Oh, you have one too then?
But it was issued to the wrong person, so that was, and, look at this.
What different amount?
Pardon?
36.
The one for, it's 75,
Right.
oh, the amount was wrong. No, the $75 one, 36.99.
So the 3662A, sorry, that check was voided because the Midwest tape check was the one right before that, the memo line.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it
it's
goes
right
into
longer,
a second.
yeah.
It's so, there's
Oh,
so
so
many
you
separate
need to get it.
invoices, so we have to
Okay.
issue. So the other check.
But
that
that's
was
not a
voided-
check we issued, it's just a.
It's just a voided check.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So
that's what I
the
meant initially.
3699
Was the wrong.
was a check that we issued and then voided that because that was made out to the wrong person. So that is the individual who brings in the Rainbow Reading Dogs, but the organization, the check should have been issued to the Rainbow Reading
I see.
Dogs. So that is
3712.
3712 is the reissue of that check.
Okay, gotcha. But she also had a check before at 36.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So that was unrelated.
Yeah. So I think there's one that goes to her and then there's one that goes to the organization.
I see. The 3660, the JM asphalt seal coating, was that for?
The restriping. I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
What did you
Is that
say?
for the front, or you said?
It's all those spaces along the side of the library in the back have been restriped.
That makes sense. curious, are you still using Minuteman Press? Transitioning over to Adobe?
We've used them for some things. We stopped, but we had some not great service for a while.
I know ownership has changed.
Yeah, and then, so we stopped using them at that point, and we haven't really had a lot of, the things that we would normally use them for have been like business cards, letterhead, that kind of thing, so we haven't had any real need for that.
Sure.
And we're still deciding about how we're gonna move forward with like new business cards with the new logo and stuff like that, so, yeah.
Okay. Okay, just curious.
Any more questions?
Everybody good with the citation? All right, so we're approving that report. Mesa J?
Yes.
Monzo?
Yes.
Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
And Gonzalez?
Yes.
Facilities, again, stay tuned until we have our full board, then we'll do our walkthrough. Policy, we presented some updated ones last month, so nothing for policy today. Staff reports.
I don't, let's read through my direct report. As I mentioned, one of the custodial maintenance people, our weekend guy, submitted his resignation. We have not filled that position. Ed and I are still discussing how we're going to do that, if at all. So luckily, we're kind of in a, between summer reading and when school starts again. So we're talking about kind of what hours are necessary to have maintenance staff in the building at all times. So staff have been stepping up and, either disarming the alarm in the building and closing up at night and stuff. So it makes a big difference having the cleaning company every day. Because a lot of the things that we needed maintenance here during the day, or especially on the weekends, was like, oh, we're out of soap, out of toilet paper, out of paper towels, those kinds of things, to make sure that those things were all taken care of. But the cleaning company, as part of their contract, they have to make sure all that stuff is filled every night when they're here. So it's really minimized the need to have someone on hand to do those kinds of things. So, so there's a lot of discussion that goes back and forth with it, because, sometimes we don't really need someone here during the day, but then in the winter, it's like we need someone to shovel and different things like that. So we're still trying to figure out the best balance for someone in that position.
But that he was just Saturday and Sunday.
He was Friday for 3 hours from like 3 to 6, and
Oh,
then
okay.
Saturdays and Sundays. So, yeah, so.
Okay.
It's hard to find the right balance though, and like I said, we're talking about that, and for the next few weeks, we'll probably not have an actual maintenance person here on the weekend, and then I will be available to come in emergencies and those kinds of things. So, yeah, we're trying to figure that out. As I said, continue to be super impressed with OSG. This month, if you look through your whole packet, there is a project list that you can see what's ongoing still or in process, and then things that they've already completed. Most of the big project stuff has been done, and one of the other nice things that they'll do for us is, which we talked about before we signed the contract with them, is that they will pull together all of the licensing and our contract with them, so that I'll have a really clear idea of kind of the automation costs that will be ongoing for next year as I'm pulling the budget together, so that'll be good. But I have started meeting with Ryan Jones as our rep from OSG every other week, where we'll get these project lists and status reports. So I'll start to include those for the board so you can see what's going on with that. Signs in, website, looks good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
And the landscaping, now that they put the new mulch and everything, looks even better.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
I still haven't seen it at night.
I haven't either.
That's true, I'll make sure I drive by tonight.
That's true.
So I'm like, tonight, yeah, so I still haven't seen it at night.
Come during the day.
But it is really nice, and actually, when we were at, Carlotta and I went to the appearance commission meeting on
Right.
Monday, but before it started, I don't know if you were there yet, Carlotta, Ralph Strawinsky came up, the village administrator, and commented how nice it looked. So they were, the village was really appreciative that we did it. It just said it just fits in so perfectly with the building, so that was really good.
Good choice.
It was a good choice. I think it was, while it was expensive, I think it was worth it. It really makes a difference, I
Well,
think.
yeah.
It's just what they cost.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like
yeah.
it costs,
Yeah, to get something that really looks nice and stuff, so. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else additional besides another written report. Summer reading was pretty successful for all of our
It was
departments.
awesome, as usual.
Yes, we got a lot of great comments on that, so. I think that's it. Any questions?
Under Ed's report, he said staff door sticks and sometimes he's not open to them.
Yeah. So actually, we've had this problem, so the staff door is all metal and it's really heavy. And so we have key fobs that open up the back door and you're supposed to be able to pull it to open it. But when it gets hot, and it doesn't even have to be that hot, it expands and the door is virtually impossible to open. And some people can't open it. So like, Natalia, for instance, she comes early, she came one morning, she goes, she couldn't even open the door. And so some of our other staff, they've not been able to open the door. So we actually have, we got a couple quotes from 2 other door companies to replace the door. And we'll be doing that. They're not cheap. It's about $2,000 to replace the door, but it has to be a fire door, it has certain requirements and stuff. And apparently, what we've been told, which I don't know why that door was installed, I think, in 2007, and apparently it's been problematic since then, but it seems this year was really bad. Apparently the door is actually a little bit too big for the frame, which adds to some of the problems. So we're getting the replacement scheduled, and hopefully that will mitigate this problem because it's really been bad.
Are you using somebody different than the one from?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we found 2 other door companies that we think, so we're having them actually, they're gonna look at a couple of other doors, like the patio doors for YS are scraping along the bottom and the top. Those are just aluminum doors, so we wanna get something a little bit, I won't say higher end, a little bit less flimsy feeling.
And that will remain unchanged with any changes down here in the future?
We're probably not, we're gonna have them look at the doors. We haven't made any decisions
okay.
about changing them out because part of that is, we may consider, I don't know what we'll do exactly with that. So
Okay.
it will be what, how much
Just an
money
idea
is
for now.
Yeah, but we do know that, there are other doors in the building that we need to have them look at. But for now, it's the staff door that really needs to be.
Yeah, we have to get the staff in the building.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the poor Helga, because her office, the head of tech services, her office is right there, and so she can hear everyone like pulling at the door, trying to get in, and so she's trying to be nice, and she'll go out and open up the door, because it's a little bit easier to open it from the inside, because you can slam it behind, which is usually how I open it. But if it's staff that are coming when the library's open, they can go around the building, but if you're here before, like I said, Natalia often is here earlier, and if, there's maintenance staff in the building, but if they're in another part of the building, they may not know that someone's out there trying to get in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's been, and then too, it's like coming in, people expect that it will close automatically, and because it swells, it doesn't close. So you have a, yes, and then you have to hold it closed, so.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of
Well,
a
that's-
security issue.
that's a
too.
problem,
So,
yeah.
so we are gonna be getting that replaced. We don't have that scheduled yet, but we just signed
Okay.
the quote the other day for us at 2,000, I think, so.
All right.
When Ed repaired the leak in the roof, did he check out the entire roof in case there's potential?
Well,
for
a big
holes?
part of the roof had been replaced already, like the main floor roof, that had all been replaced on the renovation. The area of the roof that we were in was not an area that had been replaced. So they were up there and they looked all around in that section. And so that anything that had gotten wet was removed. All the insulation and wood and everything like that, that's all been replaced and fixed up. So like there's no hole in the ceiling of the computer room. Yeah, so, yeah, that was not something we were expecting, and it was one day, one of the computer assistants came in and said, there's water pouring out of the vent in the ceiling in the computer room. And sure enough, there was water pouring out of the vent. And it was, we determined that it was probably from the HVAC unit, and there was some drainage issues and stuff, so that's all been addressed up there. Yeah. But we wanted to make sure that we got all that wet and damp wood and insulation out of there, so that's all good.
This Chris Landscaping, is that somebody new? A new landscaper?
We've been using them for about a year and a half. We started last summer with them.
Oh, okay, because it says we'll start anytime this week, doing the,
The special stuff, because
Okay.
they have been doing, up until now, they've been doing our lawn cutting,
okay.
spring and fall cleanup, we did that, and then with the signage, we asked them to give us a quote on doing some landscaping stuff.
Okay.
And so that's, yeah.
Any other questions, or? Thank you, Kim. Anything from corporate council?
No? Right, no, we're good, just the bill? Alright.
Was Monday that you two went to in the village, that was?
So we can talk about that in unfinished business?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's,
Yep,
if we're
Got
ready
it.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing from corporate council yet.
Okay.
So Carlotta and I did both go to the meeting on Monday evening, which was the Appearance Commission. And so I actually met the buyer and his architect. We met.
Oh, I thought you knew him for a while.
No, he's
Very
super
friendly.
friendly. Yes, he's very friendly. But yeah, no, that was the first time I had met him. But, so his architect made a presentation to the Appearance Commission. It was very detailed, showing the outside elevations of the building and her renderings and stuff. And they're more, I think I maybe had forwarded to you guys an email. There were some drawings and renderings. The outside renderings were not that detailed. These that she presented on Monday night were much more detailed.
Oh, yeah.
And the Appearance Commission had asked for them to give more detail, I think, especially on some of the finishes that they were thinking about on the outside, and the landscaping, because they were asking for some waivers because the building itself is pretty much lot line to lot line,
Right.
especially on
Right.
either side.
Right.
And so they presented those, and a couple members of the Appearance Commission commented on how detailed the presentation was, and they appreciated her explanations about how she got to, what her thinking was behind the different designs.
She was explaining the brick,
Right.
how you can't duplicate it, so
Yeah.
they are gonna keep it just the same, and those white blocks that I never even noticed.
I know,
before.
I'm like, I should go
They
over and
don't
look at
make
the
those
building again.
anymore, so
You're
she's got
keeping the old stuff?
the brick,
So
the outside
the
brick.
the outside brick, they're keeping, because apparently, who knew? So Carlotta and I were saying on Monday night that the brick that they used was, it was a special brick, and it was really expensive,
Mhm.
and it's impossible to duplicate. So for them to try to match it, it wouldn't be able, they couldn't match it. So they're maintaining the brick, but they're gonna be breaking it up. I mean, they're creating other windows and stuff like that. So they're trying to minimize the kind of big blocky, here's this dark wall sort of thing. So they'll be breaking that up. But, so the Appearance Commission approved unanimously her presentation. So the next step is the Plan Commission, where they will have a hearing. The Plan Commission will meet on the 19th. I will go to that meeting. We received, actually, I know there's one.
September 19th. Or
August
Oh.
19th. So we received a letter end of last week, basically telling all residents, anyone within a 250-foot radius of the building, the village has to send out a letter notifying everyone that there is a hearing. And it's at the August 19th meeting at the Plan Commission. So that would be the first time that people could potentially go and share their thoughts about, changing the building or doing anything with the building.
Are those condos across the street within that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that could potentially.
Yeah, so we got one just as occupant, just because they
Right.
they have their list, their database of everyone within that area.
It's 250 feet from the building too.
Mhm. So but that's just, obviously, we know that, but they're just notifying the neighbors that this is going to be changed, that they're asking for, and I have to be honest, I'm not really sure why this has to be a special use permit, because I thought this was already zoned for what they want to do with it, but it could be parking, but they're only, I think that's part of it. There is a small waiver for parking that they're asking for, but there's gonna be 2 parking places inside the building. They're not gonna do anything with that garage space. They're gonna change the entry doors, but the architect explained that it was just so cost prohibitive to really redo anything in that garage area, so they're gonna keep it as a garage, and there'll be 2 spaces inside the garage and then 5 spaces outside. So, the one positive thing that the buyer had mentioned to me is that, it is my understanding that the village is not requiring them to do a traffic study, which is a positive thing, because that's time consuming and expensive for all parties involved, and given that it's gotta have 4 residential units in it,
Yeah, it's gonna be residential.
it's not gonna be a
Yeah, to do
huge
that.
thing, so based on what the buyer had said to me, I think that the village is not requiring that anymore, so, like I said, I think that they seem, at least the appearance commission seemed very impressed with the thought that had gone into it, and quite frankly, it would do nothing but make that area look nicer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they did a really nice
So we're
job,
gonna do a balcony
Oh.
on the roof.
right?
So the upstairs apartment has
We'll
a
have one corner of a balcony and,
balcony right out.
more
Not,
decorative
not
things.
that they're gonna build anything more. Everything, nothing is gonna be extended or anything, it's just gonna be up on that roof, it's a flat roof, they'll make it a patio, balcony, I don't know what you wanna call it. It's for
Yeah.
that apartment only, not the ones downstairs.
Yeah, and the
Are there
apartments.
more commissions after the?
The plan commission, well, I think the plan commission has to do, I think they have to have 2 public hearings, is what usually the village, and this is why the closing, when they asked for an extended closing, and they said like November 1st, they're thinking, oh my gosh, that's still so far away, but when you look at the calendar,
Yeah.
all the meetings that they have to go to, that really is probably the earliest that they would be able to
But I don't
close.
understand why they're prolonging the closing.
Because the village won't call any special meetings, so this will be the first meeting of the plan commission, and then I believe they'll have to have a second hearing
No, I
of the plan
get that,
commission,
but-
and then they have to have 2 regular board meetings.
Right, I get that, but why do they have to, why is the closing so long, down the
The
road?
contract has pretty much said that if they can't get the
If the village,
if the
okay.
village doesn't agree to this,
Yeah,
the contract is null and void,
Oh.
so that's why.
Closing all the village.
And I, from the buyer standpoint, I absolutely get it, what, I mean,
Okay,
then
that's
it's
what
just
I
like with
couldn't
the-
figure.
Yeah, I'm
Why
sorry.
don't we just close on, let him figure out the rest of it?
Yeah.
Because
We
then
don't
you
know when
can
he
come
puts
back and
there.
say, well, I can't build what I want to build.
Right.
and it's-
Exactly.
But so far, he's not building, there's gonna be no,
But he can't do what he wants
ripping up
to
and
do, so.
ripping
like,
down, other
what
than
do
the
you-
inside.
Inside. Right, he won't be changing, I mean, he will be changing the exterior of the building with windows and
Windows.
different things like that, but
Doors.
he's not adding any additional space. The footprint of the building will not change, is what he has said. So there's 2 meetings of the plan commission, and then the plan commission makes their recommendation to the full board, who then has to have 2 public hearings, I believe, so that's why that, I think it's so long.
Okay. Wow, okay.
So, but that felt like a really positive first step.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm not
And-
sure that.
Yeah.
And the village does seem very, Zoe Hydorn, the new, God, I can't remember her exact title, because I think they combined a couple of different jobs that they had originally that were separate. She's been working really hard, and I know that, I talk to Ralph, every so often, and he assures me they remain committed to getting this done. So, fingers crossed that will continue. So,
All right. Well, thank you for going to that meeting and reporting back.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was nice to see the more detailed plans, because I had not seen those. I had seen just the first go round, so.
Fingers crossed, yeah. Okay, vacant trustee position, we'll do interviews, so do we wanna?
Yeah, you can go into executive session now if you want.
Okay.
And then
Will interviews be done in executive session?
that is one of the things that you can go into executive session for, and I would recommend that.
Yeah. All right, then I'll make a motion to, go into an executive session, to discuss the selection of a person to fill a public office as per 5 ILCS 120/2C3.
Second.
Okay, Monzo,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Kuzo? Yes. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mason?
Yes.